Are we alive? Are you here? Is it summer? I'm so excited. It's summer. It's summer. Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. We're here. And it's my favorite time of the year. How about you? How are you doing tonight? Is it Friday? Yes. Is it summer? Yes. Welcome in. Have a seat. Kick your feet up. Get your munchies and your drinks on, and let's Steinkern all together right from the top. I know it's been a week for some of y'all. I saw Roof Otrus was already in the house saying what a week it's been. Cheers to you for getting through this week and being here tonight. Thank you so much for coming. We've got such a good show for you tonight. I am so pumped. So let's Steinkern. Oh, yeah. We're talking phosphates this evening. Oh, it's good. And I've got a guest on. I'm so thrilled to have Freeform Lapidary here joining us here in a minute after we all land. And we are going to talk about kind of a mineral that some love and some hate, some adore and some find abhorrent. We're going to find out what you think about it. We're going to find out more about it. We're going to find out how to handle it if you want to try, and discuss this somewhat controversial item of the phosphates, the turquoise, the Variscite, the Chrysocolla, the Shattikite, the Malacola, the everything up in there under the sun that those wonderful phosphates and copper and aluminum and all those things bear upon us, grace us with. And so, welcome in, Mr. Turtle Montana. Good to see you. Got that opal guy hanging out, talking about the weather. I know some of you guys are already upset about how hot it is, but oh, I'm a reptile. I love my heat. So it is good. Blind Squirrel Rocks is here. If you guys follow Blind Squirrel Rocks over on Instagram, you saw some absolutely wow corals that Blind Squirrel has recently found. So if you don't follow Blind Squirrel Rocks on Instagram, you know you need to. Go and check out those incredibly bombastic corals, some fossil corals that are amazing. We got Tomcat Josh here. Good to see you. Wisconsin Rockstalker has been treating us to some of the turquoise madness over there on the Discord. I think a few of us have been mildly bitten. And I believe that it comes with a certain side effect. You guys can tell me about if you've been bitten and if there's a side effect to being bitten by this particular bug of the phosphates. We have Lesby Rock in here. Good to see you, as well as Patricia's Creations. Thank you for coming. And wait, what? Rufo is cryptically chiming in to something. I'll figure this out here in a moment. Femme Mechanique Designs is here. Good to see you. I know you like your phosphates. Ma is here, brandishing the wrench. Whatcha? If you need anything done by a mod, make sure to hit Miss Ma up. Thank you so much for being a fabulous moderator, a moderator, if you will. Always right quick on the draw with that wrench. Eric the cat is here. Excellent to see you. Scott Argyle is here. How about that rain this morning? It was an interesting opener for the summer season with rain, like pounding rain this morning. How about y'all? Did anybody else get some of that? Did I already say hi to that opal guy? I think I did. Danny M is here. Good to see you. Thank you. Ah, Rufo just got some Chrysocolla malachite. The Malacola. Look at us. Like it's like parallel universes are conjoining. Are you in the parallel universe conjoining with all of us that are loving on these things? We love it. Cool. That makes me laugh every time, as you could see. Kid Curry is here. And what? I gotta put this up here. You guys know I'm lagging behind now. You can see how far. We are supposed to get 12 inches of snow in the mountains tonight. Clappy clappies. I mean, I guess if you want to go skiing or something, that's amazing. All right, Kid Curry, hang in there. Uh Soul is here. Good to see you, Soul. Thank you for coming. And boy, we had a ruckus over the week with a bunch of really cool videos that once again I am not completely caught up with, and I just want to make sure that everybody is seeing and getting. Oh yeah, see 55 in Redmond right now. Let's see. I can't see exactly how it'll show me here in a second how cold warm it is. It was like in the high 60s today here, but we had like nuts rain, and then it decided to get a little bit nicer, but I was like, really, is this how summer's coming on? Yeah, you gotta love the rain and the snow because the water, and there's already wildfires going on out there. You guys snuff those fires out and whatnot. Brenda Bloom is here. Good to see you, Brenda. Thank you for coming. And just trying to down the howdy doos here because we've got such stoky stuff to talk about tonight that I wanna get caught up so that we can plug straight into our favorite topic for the week here. We've got Kirk Hoyer. I'm going to always say it right, Mr. Foyer. Cheers to you, sir. We've got this beautiful, I like the different hues of turquoise that we have in the tsunami. Since the phosphates are the star of the evening, I hear for some new knowledge reigned pretty here on the other side of the Coast Range. I think we're going to make sense of that sentence. I get what you're saying. How's the volcano mug thing going? Because I know that there's a few people here, including myself, that would really, really like to see the volcanoes. Okay. So they're saying hi to all. And we've got the Prairie Girl rocks. And it's rather chilly there also, which is funny because you guys were kind of complaining about having some serious heat going on last week, I believe, all the way up until yesterday, because if you guys had the grace to notice that Miss Alexis and Theo went on a live stream last night to do some sales, it was quite nice and they were hot, which made me think of it. They said that they're going to give a way more generous heads up for the next live sale. If you missed it, don't be too sad. You can go back and watch it. But also, many times over the course of the live stream, Theo was talking about him having extras of the things that he was showing. So those gorgeous jaspers that were just making me drool all over Scott Bakula. And there were some really nice fossils. So you got the Scott Baculites as well. And then there were some really nice Montana agates, of course. He said he had plentitudes of those things. So you can go ahead and watch the replay and then go ahead and email him about stuff that you might be interested in getting. So all is not lost, and he's going to be doing another one right soon, he said, with a generous heads up to that. So we're good. And We've got colder and windier than normal here today. Was a good wind chill, feeling in mid 50s. Actual temperature 62, should be 77. Yeah, we got knocked down too. Like I said, we've got this westerly pattern coming in, which means rain for the beach, and so we got a bunch of that schwitzing. And then it was just kind of cool and breezy for the afternoon, which felt absolutely perfect for what I wanted to get done. So I cannot complain. It was in the mid 60s. Who can complain about that? Here I'm holding my Steinkern mug. Everybody Steinkern again. I was wondering, since it is happy summer, the first day of summer. Yay. Have you got any great plans that you're looking forward to this weekend or for the summer? Are you going to get out mining? If not, are you going to a local gem show or going to do some traveling for that? I would love to hear what your summer plans are. It's so exciting. Like this is just such a cool time of year that I'm hoping everybody's got some neat ideas for stuff that they are wanting to do and go see. We've got Dad's Rocks creeping on in here. Hello, Mr. Phil. And send me some 60s, mild 90s here. Yeah, that's why I said that I love the 60s because I do love the sun and I love the heat. I have the tendency to absorb it like a reptile, as mentioned. But when you're working, so nice to have that really kind of perfect temperature somewhere in the 60s or the 70s with like a breeze on it. Ah, so good. So I wish I could send that to you. Poof. There you go. Oh, and Refotris. Awesome. We've got this. Whoa, that's shoveling the sidewalk, says Kid Curry, but I'm over here. Let's get into some good stuff tonight and cheers. Yes, let's ring this bell. Oh, yeah, we love the members. And I have not forgotten about the extra icons for you guys. We've got these special emojis for the channel, and I have room to make more. And I just haven't gotten around to it. We've got a bleeding finger, which I have had made. I just have to upload it. And then we've got a couple other ideas for some emojis. If you have an idea for an emoji for the channel, you can stick it in the chat bar, whichever way that is, respective to where you are right now. And then you can leave it in the comments if you're watching this in an afterplay. I would love to get your input on what the emojis can be. Graphic designer, I can make what you come up with in your head. We can make it into an emoji. So, rolling on down, we've got oh my gosh, look at this. Starting my 5 days off for my birthday. Happy birthday, Tomcat Josh. That follows that you're a summer baby. That you're just such a warm and cheery dude that actually makes a whole bunch of sense. Happy birthday to you. Hey, ring the bell for Mr. Tomcat Josh. Hippity happy birthday to you. And I hope that you celebrate well with your days off. That sounds like a good time. And we have an answer here. I love this. I will send the video of my new mugs to you as I am on FB. Okay, so I'll keep an eye open for that, Mr. Kirk. And thank you. We want to see them. I'm so excited about that. Le Femme Mécanique designs 2-week rock hounding road trip to Gaspésie and Nova Scotia, leaving Tuesday. So excited. Yes, we're excited for you. And I hope that you're taking us along with you with the videos, maybe alive. Let us know. We will keep our eyes open. That sounds like such a good time. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. Scrolling. And Lava Bison is here. Good to see you, Lava Bison. Cheers to you. My mom is here. I haven't seen her in the chat yet, but I know that she's here. So, hello, Mom. Good to see you as well. Cheers. And thank you for joining us. And maybe she'll pop up in here. I know a lot of the times she just loves to sit back and watch, even if she can chat. Miss Cynthia Foss has entered the chat as well. Good to see you, Cynthia. We've got some pretty cool videos coming out of some of these channels too. If you haven't checked out Cynthia Foss or Bob's Rocks or these guys, definitely go check them out. We've got some nice videos coming along. And of course, Rufotris and Jeff from JMV Rock Hounding, bringing us some beautiful things for our eyes to lay upon, of course. And boy, it was a full week for videos. The meteorite chat with Allison was so cool. If you did not watch the Wednesday morning chat with Allison, she had a guest, and that was such a good time. It was like a long chat, but it was so informative, so exciting to hear the story of this. The guest had found a meteorite. It's the dream, living the dream. And not just little meteorite chunks, a big, huge chunk, like bigger than your head. And so go back, go check that out. And we've got Todd Saunders here. Good to see you. Thank you. And we have, I'm trying to give it a star. There we go. We've got, so my plan is to crack open some eggs and agates. Yay. I saw that on Theo's live, you were saying I've got a saw and I have Montana agates. And the next thing that happens is dead saw blade. But get to it, girl. We can't wait to see. I hope that you take us along on that adventure as well. Here we go. Soul has been a member for 10 months. Thank you so much for all the support. As far as the memberships go, it keeps the boat afloating. The float a boating. However you want to put it. That's what happens. Really, really appreciate all of your guys' support. It really does make this whole thing possible. Otherwise, I'd be sitting in here all by myself, sawing away at the metal and getting ready for whatever next situation is going on. And so I really, really appreciate you guys. And Todd Saunders' birthday is also coming up. Happy birthday to you. It's on the 23rd. So that is right around the corner. Cheers. Loving on these summer babies. Excellent. Cheers to you. Thank you. And let's see. Saying hi to Mom. Thank you so much, you guys. And thank you, Ma, for sharing the links. Those links that are in the chat, whichever direction that is in for you, even down there, go hit those when you have a chance and support these channels that are putting out some great content for you. Never be bored. Ever, ever, never. And we've got the Tomcat, Josh. The bloat is a photon. Yes, right. Thank you for being a member. All right. And for those of you that are lurking or just watching, the channel is here for all y'all, and we thank you for watching or for leaving a comment or for putting that thumbs up on the thumbs up button if you do like it. It helps the YouTube, just recognize that this is useful content for those of you that are digging on the rocks and everything. If you're a member, you get some extras. I've been putting out some small videos that would be like not as catchy for the algorithm of the YouTube. So I put them on the members side. So you guys get to see some of the back behind the scenes stuff, or just shorter videos, kind of a culmination of what I've been up to. And so those are a good time. And then you get other perks. Like knowing about when things are going on. And so I appreciate that. It looks like what have we got here? I was gonna thank you. Rock the Rick is here. Good to see you, and Steinkerns to you. And then I was trying to get over here. It looks like I'll be making an unfortunate unplanned trip to Nevada in the next week or two. So I'll definitely be doing some rock hunting. Dude, jealous, because Nevada is where this stuff comes from that we're going to be talking about in just a few moments. We love our turquoise, we love our Variscite, we love our Chrysocolla, Shattikite, Malacolla, etc., and so on and so forth. And that is the subject of this evening. And we'll bring on our guest here in just a moment after we are all done getting this out of our system, all the bells that are needing to be rung and birthdays that are needing to be saluted. All right. I'm sorry that it's an unfortunate and unplanned trip, and yet it sounds like you're going to make some lemonade out of that. So good for you. And that Opal guy, awesomeness, member here for 4 months. Really appreciate that support. And also just a member because of Tomcat Josh. I know I love Tomcat Josh so much for gifting the memberships. What's cool about that is you can gift the membership so somebody becomes a member, but also we end up like getting the same amount of the donation as if you were to give me a super chat or something like that. And so that way everybody gets to win. So some people get to be on the side of the channel that you might get to see some extras, or you get a bonus heads up that something is about to happen. And there's always like a discount, although I'll reveal discount on the website. The best one is free for free shipping, FREE. You can do that at any time. And then, there's other things that I'll release first to you guys. There is a sale going on there right now because we're trying to raise money for this mining season, and stuff is getting filled up like for the first time in my recollection. Mines are closing their bookings because things are filling up, which is so congratulatory for the mines. I'm so happy for those guys. But then on the flip side, if you're just wanting to wander, like it sounds like Mr. Turtle is about to do, what Steve and I like to do, just set out with gas in our tank and hit the mines that are pinpoints on our map and kind of roll the dice. If it's storming over there, if it's a fire over here, then we head in a different direction, because that always changes the plans. And boy, stuff is actually, I'm so pleased that the miners are being so successful right now. Anyways, that's what your memberships go to, and I'm always deeply, deeply, deeply thankful for that. And of course, running the channel, helping us have microphones and headphones and all the things, the platform, etc., and so forth. Oh, and here we go. We got to get the bell rung one more time before we get Caleb in here. 5 new Ozone memberships. Thank you so much. Love you. Like you're sharing birthday gift, to all the everybody by doing that. Cheers. And thank you so much, that Opal guy on this side. When I'm doing the platform from StreamYard, I don't get to see who is gifted the memberships. So the fact that you say that Kyle, Julie, Rob, Wild, and Yogi just got memberships, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And great people got a great gift. Nice, Josh. Exactly. Thank you so much for that. Really, really appreciate that. And he's a good man. That's right. Yay. All right. And so Tonight's topic is oh my gosh. Okay, one more. And then we're going on to tonight's topic with our guest. Thank you so much. I mean, I never want to stop, but I really appreciate that. Rufotris, cheers to you. Thank you so much for sharing 5 more memberships. What's cool about having more memberships is that I get to make more graphics for those emojis that I was just talking about. So you guys can tell me what emojis you want, and I will add them. I will make that my job for this next week. Must say my arm must be tired. Yeah, I should like equal out the workout now that my shoulder is feeling better, but I thank you guys for that. Like I said, gas in the car, a pick, a screen. That's what these membership funds go to, so that we can take you along to go mining for the mining season. Plus, you guys probably know it's not cheap to do, and so we always try to gather all of the pennies out of the laundry and all the stuff in the crease of the couch and head out down the road. So really appreciate that. Congratulations to all the new members, and thanks again, both Rufo and Tom Cat, Josh. Oh, and like I like that. And Oregon shape emoji would be very appropriate. I like that. I'll go ahead and get right to work on that. Very good. And here's this. Sorry for the distraction. It's rock time. Indeed. Let's get to the rocks. Let's get freeform lapidary up here. We've got Caleb. Welcome in.
How's it going, everybody?
And how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Work today and then came right into home and right into the shop and started cutting turquoise.
Oh, and that wasn't because of what we're doing here.
No, it's just what I've been focusing on right now. I've got some shows to prepare for coming up this year, so trying to stockpile back up. I got kind of wiped out after the last show, so I'm trying to get some of that stock going again.
Oh, tears for you getting wiped out at the show. We're gonna do one more bell here really quick, Caleb, and then we'll get on with it. Thank you, Mr. Turtle Montana, for 20 Ozone Fine Art memberships. And so congratulations to all you guys that are now members. We're gonna ring this bell. Yeah. Thank you so much. Like I said, this benefits everybody because those guys get to be on board, and we get to maybe do a belt run over there at Sunstones, or buy more turquoise or mine some. So thank you, Mr. Turtle Montana. And gosh, I wish you luck on your trip to Nevada. I really will be needing like maybe minute by minute, hour by hour updates if you go mining for turquoise. Okay, Caleb. So yeah, tell us more about this recent preparation of turquoise that you're working on.
So I have a little bit of a clientele that I've built up that's really asking for a lot of turquoise. So I'm trying to focus a bit of time and get a bunch of pieces ready for either the occasional when they hit me up kind of sales or the show itself. So for the next few weeks, probably I'll be focusing on doing that. I have a whole bunch of pieces and different kinds of turquoises in different stages of progression. And it's been pretty fun. I picked up quite a bit recently through estates or on eBay things and whatnot. And so just trying to process through it takes time, but it's really rewarding.
Oh, no kidding. So in the fashion of a proper interview, I would love to ask you. I'm going to try to equal out our faces.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to be all okay. So how did you get into working with turquoise? Because I've noticed kind of ever since I've known you, it has been kind of like close to the apex of what you like to work on. Am I wrong there?
No, that's pretty accurate. Um, how I got started, I think just through some rock estates and things like that, and through rock shows, I just started picking up this material over time. And at some point, or sometimes it can be a little intimidating to work some of these things because it's like that they're valuable. You might not know how valuable they are necessarily, but it's something you don't want to mess up if you can. And so at some point I just started digging into it, and I realized how much I like doing it. It's fast to cut, it's easy to, or it can be easy, and just the outcome is really rewarding. So it's just been one of my staples. If I only have maybe less than an hour or an hour or something to hop in the shop, I can grab a few pieces and knock them out in that amount of time versus if I was doing some other things that might take me a bit longer.
Okay, so I know that some people out there are extremely well versed, and I do hope that if you're among those folks that are well knowledgeable in the phosphates, do lend your expertise in the chat. But meanwhile, uh, some of us haven't been into turquoise and some of the other phosphates for quite as long. And so, what you were just talking about with being able to knock it out fairly quick, some of the materials we work on, the reason why they fetch a large price is because they take a lot to make into a gemstone. But, you know, clarify, like, why is turquoise gonna hit you in the wallet the way that it does?
Uh, a bit more scarce, especially for a good quality turquoise. uh, some of the mines that produce a lot of it or not a lot of it can make the price change. The colors that you can get out of it, the way the matrix interacts with the turquoise, all these kind of, and then whether or not it's been stabilized, like all these factors are going to play into why that's going to be a lot more expensive than an agate of some sort or just some other kind of common material.
That's a good answer because I know that a lot of people, when I've gone through different phases with different rocks to have employed in different jewelry lines, they will be like, oh, okay, so when you were working with agate, the same piece, the same necklace would have cost substantially less
Right.
than say with turquoise or with an opal or something like that. And so obviously they notice, and there's something about, of course, the allure of the item itself, but then would you mind touching upon both the availability factor and then also the preparation factor? And so maybe starting with the availability factor.
Okay. It's not found everywhere, so that's a big factor. Some types of agates have a lot more abundance than other materials. Jaspers, you can go out and mine pounds and pounds and pounds of it, and that can be a little more difficult for some turquoises, depending on the mine, and and how they're mining it is another one there. So they could be blasting for, they could just be doing like hand digging or just using equipment to do so, and some of the mines produce more than others, and or like the types that you're getting could be seams, so it's just little veins of it going through areas, and other places like some of the Kingman mines, they can get nice big chunks out of it. And so there's just a bit of scarcity to it. There's a lot of turquoise mines, but they're not all over the United States. They're primarily in a very small region, in perspective. And so there's that. And then what was the second part? Oh, the preparation. The preparation, you're going to be looking at or a very small percentage of the turquoise that comes out of the ground is actually, stable, usable material. I've heard people estimate that it's like less than 10%, can be like hard enough to be cut and take a high polish right out of the ground. And so a lot of it does require stabilization and whatnot. And I could be a little off with the numbers. I'm still learning. I'm definitely not a phosphate expert here, but that's just what I know. And so just as like an example on the preparation, like you have this piece of turquoise here, and it looks nice. It's got the blue, kind of a light pale blue color, but it's actually borderline chalky. Like I can scrape parts of it off with my fingernail. And so it can come out of the ground like that. And that's not very good for cutting a cab out of. It's not going to take as high a polish. There's a chance as it soaks up water, it's going to fall apart on you. And so something like this would have to be stabilized. And to stabilize turquoise, different places will cost you different amounts. I got one estimate recently. It was like $35 a pound just to have it stabilized. And so, when the cost is coming in, you got to take that into account if you're paying for it to be stabilized, or if you're buying it, you're paying for part of that, And go ahead.
Oh, no, no, I was just gonna double down on what you're saying, but continue your thought. This is great.
Okay. And so just as an example, I have another piece of turquoise here that has been stabilized, and you can see the richness in the color there and how much it affects the stone. And it also not only enhances the color, you can do that with, like, this would be like no dye. So just stabilizing it makes the color come out better, and then makes it stable to cut. Now, and it can still fracture and craze and do that kind of stuff, but it still makes it more usable. So this nice big chunk, probably, if maybe it wasn't usable or it was borderline. Like I've got some Kingman that's borderline. I can cut it, but some of it's a little on the soft side, and some of it's okay. So
That was a great overview, because I think a lot of people wonder, you know, if I want to love turquoise, I don't know where to start, because there's such a variety. There's dauntingly expensive. And I saw a few people in the chat going like, yeah, it's easy to prep when it's good, but it's so easy to mess up too, because
right,
it can be very soft and you end up with, like a golf ball, bunch of divots around it, and
yeah.
that, the flat spots and everything. And so one of the questions that I'd love to ask you is, do you have a suggestion, like as far as the kind of turquoise, because there are so many, you talked about so many different mines. For a beginner, is there a location, a certain mine, a certain kind of turquoise that you would recommend getting started with?
Um, yeah, there's definitely some that are more difficult to work with, that take a little bit of learning and knowledge to process properly, because some of, like, especially when it comes to the naturally hard turquoises, they can be brittle, they can be fractury, and so there's little techniques you can use to even just go from a nodule, to process that nodule into little slabs or whatever, just so that you don't mess it up. And there's a whole bunch of cutting techniques on top of that when you're actually doing the cabbing, like not putting too much pressure and stuff. You can still mess it up even once you've gotten through that initial point. But I would say, just for, like, I don't know, you can get, but there's an abundance factor here as well as a quality and look factor, and it's just from Kingman. That it's just the turquoise capital. The whole area has a wide variety of mines and types that come out of it and looks to it, and you can get it stabilized. And I think partially because of the abundance, you can sometimes get really good pricing on it that doesn't break the bank. But if you have some turquoise, I would say just try it. And I know that can be kind of hard if you haven't done it before, because you're thinking turquoise is soft. Well, turquoise is soft, but if you have a naturally hard turquoise, it's kind of different in a way. And so it takes a little bit of a learning curve. I would suggest, if you are tackling it for the first time, just go slow, and just work your way through it. Because if you try to cut it like an agate, you're gonna burn through it, and then you're gonna be disappointed probably. So
Yeah.
just figure it out as you go. Take it slow, one piece at a time. Kind of learn the nuances, because Well, shoot, I have turquoise. I picked up a lot recently that I'm sure that I think was in like the intro, and you can see the variety of the types that I was cutting out of there, and all of them acted just a little bit differently. And so it took like on the spot, on the stone, I'm like learning. Okay, I need to back off just a little bit, or I need to push a little harder, or whatever. It's just all kinds of little nuances that you'll get into with this stuff.
Awesome, awesome. Like just basket of information there for folks. And really quick, we have a few really nice questions here. First of all, Kid Curry was asking, what is and how do you stabilize? So if you wouldn't mind addressing that, and I'll bring the other question up here before I forget. And even before that, one more bell. We've got Lava Bison. Thank you so much. Saying hit those likes on your way in or out. Take a moment. This moment, seize the like. Okay, thank you so much, Bell. All right. And so that was like the question of what is the stabilization? Like, what do you use? If you could just give us a thumbnail on that real quick.
There's a lot of different ways people stabilize things, typically with a vacuum chamber and a type of stabilizer epoxy, sucking all the air, putting it in there with the liquid, sucking all the air out. And then when you let the air back in, it all sucks into the turquoise and gets in there. And then some of them require you to like bake them to a certain temperature to harden everything. And there's a number of different ways that people do that. And there's a lot of secrets in that world too. That's why I was suggested recently, I was going to look into doing that myself, and I still might. But, like one friend of mine that's super into turquoise suggested just paying the price to have somebody else do it if it's good turquoise, because they've already established, their method. Like I'm going to be learning how to do it, and so I might ruin things and stuff. It just depends. I might still do it, but anyways, just that stabilizing, getting in there and hardening everything up. That's all it is.
Yeah, good question, Kid Curry. I think a lot of people that are armchair are wondering about that. There is one way that you can do it. If you just have like maybe a piece of sort of powdery, unstable turquoise that you got in a grab bag, or decided you were going to roll the dice on some gamble from eBay or something like that. Do you want to tell them real quick how you can kind of, patch a stabilization job in real quick?
Sure. Yeah. Well, there are some quicker methods well, actually, no, that's a slow method. But if your turquoise is like stable enough to be cut, like say you get some little slabs or something and you just want to make it a little more stable, you can back it to help keep it from crumbling on you, or just to give it a little added strength for when it goes into jewelry or something. And there's a number of methods we could get into on that. But other than that, like if you're trying to cut something up and it's being a little crumbly on you, you can take your stone and you can coat it with like CA glue or something like that, just to kind of hold the pieces together and keep the outside just a little more stable for while you're cutting. That can make a pretty big difference sometimes. And then like once you cut it, all that's being broken away, so it's not really considered a stabilized stone, but it's just to help you
Right.
process the material.
Yeah, like the ultra thin Star Bond is a really nice one that'll get, some absorption so that you can at least play with it more, just from my experience with some of the other crumbly items. So go continue.
Yeah, there's you can I know some people use like epoxy to kind of fill in some gaps and cracks without having it be fully stabilized. um Whatever gets you through and whatever you're happy with as a final product, it's fine. I always try to disclose to people if I can, if something's been stabilized or not. Transparency is key. To the best of your knowledge, just give them the information. If it's natural, that's great, because some people want just natural turquoise. Some people don't care at all. they just like the look of it. And so, but if you can be transparent, be transparent.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. I was having this conversation not too long ago, and when I first entered the business and started purchasing, it was a really, really big deal. Backing, stabilization, and all natural like was huge. And
Yeah.
so I think that it's still really important to identify and become completely clean as a seller. If you're a jeweler and you're selling a piece that has turquoise in it, and if you're a creator that makes like the cabochons or carvings or what have you, that you do make sure that the person purchasing knows about it, because at least like I said, like several decades ago when I first got into it, it was a huge deal. Like
Right.
some people would not touch, the stabilization, the stabilized stuff, or if they were buying natural, they wanted to make sure that it wasn't backed. And on the flip side, there were plenty of clients that it didn't matter. It's a beautiful piece. It's fine, whichever way. And yet it just matters that you just come clean, that you're not surprising somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. In
Yeah.
reality, if the intention for it is to be set in jewelry, backing it would be like the least issue out of any of it, just because it's protecting the stone a bit more from, if it's in a ring and you clock your ring on the door or something like that, if it's not backed or whatever, it has a chance of breaking on you, and then you're gonna be really upset. So I think that's like the least worrisome. And I think just like the market, from what you're saying till today, a lot of the people who are hitting me up, they don't care at all if it's stabilized. They just want the look because they're jewelers, they're silversmiths. They want the look in a stone. So when they see it, that's their first impression of it. And they're like, oh, and they already starting to conjure up ideas of, what they're going to do with it and how the finished product's going to look. And so they just want it for the stone. But like I
Totally.
said,
It's
I
changed
tell them,
so much. Yeah. Like 30 years ago, like the amalgam of the turquoise that have been blended with so many other things and made into bricks and whatnot. Like, I mean, at least the shopping that I did, people wouldn't have been into it even. Like,
yeah,
what
yeah,
are you even trying to pull on us type thing? And now it's like its own sensation, which is awesome. It's a great way to create something out of byproduct and stuff that might be, not quite as good, but absolutely beautiful. We have a bunch of really, really cool conversation going on in the chat also. So if you're watching this afterwards, definitely open up the chat and read, because there's good information going by there. And then also, Romania Rockhound was asking, what's the inclusions in turquoise like for someone who doesn't know how it really looks? And so this is actually really good because you can have fake turquoise out there with the wrong inclusions. And so how would you tackle that question, Caleb?
um, let's see. You won't necessarily find like specific inclusions broadly across there, but you will with certain mines. Like some turquoises are known for having the pyrites and things like that inside them, so you can really point those out. Uh, some of them, it's just like the muddy natural inclusions from the matrix that it was around. That's why some of them, like number 8, get that kind of spider webby look. Or there's a whole number of spider web type turquoises out there, and that's just some of that natural stuff around it. um but yeah, there's no like real identifier except for if you're looking at something specific, I think. um but on the topic of like fake turquoises, like the dyed howlites and things like that,
Yeah.
uh, it's pretty obvious. There's some telltales for some of that stuff, to tell if something's been color enhanced or dyed, and that's going to be if you're looking at some rough or slabs or whatever, and you can see where there's like natural fractures or voids or things like that in the stone. If you see a concentration of blue color in those zones, most likely your piece has been at the very least color enhanced or it's fake. I'm personally fairly comfortable with or versed in like being able to identify dyed howlite, for example, just because I've seen so much of it. And there's even other dyed things that they try to pass off as turquoise. And so, if you're buying, especially as a first timer, you try to do some research and really see, get some visual examples offline or from somebody on some of that stuff, because it's pretty easy to be had.
Yeah, I think that's one of the, because we want to make this attractive to everybody listening, both those that are pros that are having an awesome conversation about how to stabilize in the chat right now, which is fantastic. Thank you. In fact, Mutt even put the link to Julie of Femme Mechanique Design's stabilization video. I believe that had to do with Opticon. There's also the cactus juice. There's different methods, and there's a really cool, like I said, conversation going on about some of those specifics from people who use these products. And so I hope that you're benefiting from the chat as well as this discussion. What I thought would also be cool to do is, you were just talking about recognizing what this stuff looks like. And so I thought I would add this and see if I can. Oh wow, I paused it in time and everything. We're seeing it in double because it's both the background and the foreground at this point. But tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here and how this can help our eye if we're trying to find good turquoise to buy.
Okay. So what you're looking at is a relatively boring pile of rocks. At face value, besides that one little blue one poking out really obviously in the middle there, it doesn't look like much here. And that's because the variety of turquoise that I have here has a very wide color spectrum to it. And so this is it was sold as Hachita, Hachita turquoise, which is from New Mexico. And there are a number of mines that were active in that area for years. And so there's a really big mix of what is here. And so as I was processing some of this stuff, I started seeing, like, at first I was kind of wondering if this was just maybe some of it's Hachita and some of it's a mix of other stuff, because that happens quite a bit. If you buy like a mixed lot off of eBay or something, someone might say something like, well, that's not from there probably. But you never know. And so anyways, at face value, this is all a bunch of seam and a lot of host rock and just a lot of darker tones that you'll see. A lot of greens in this stuff and like pale blues and things that almost look like Variscite, but after doing some research and the way it cut and stuff, I believe it is turquoise. But yeah, so this is a lot that I picked up and I've been processing.
So Ryan is asking, have you tried any of that compressed composite? And what do you think of it if you have?
Yeah, so I have done some. I know I have some here, sort of within reach, but yeah, it's fine. It can be a little finicky sometimes depending on how well or what, the processes they used. Like I've cut some that for the most part, the resin was okay to work with, but it had just a few gunky spots and stuff. And so, there are some really kind of crappy composites out there. And then there are some people creating some really, really, really great ones. Specialty Cabin Block, give them a shout out. They make some pretty crazy looking block as well as just really high quality. So that stuff's pretty nice. But
yeah,
it's fine.
So yeah, if you're like a Puritan, then you might even be missing out, in my opinion, because some of these things that they're creating, it's like it's just an art form. You could wear like just undyed white cotton shirts, or you could wear a designer thing. It's kind of that style of thing. You might enjoy your designer rocks. No hate.
Yeah.
Give it a try.
I do like block. I would say that I like the blocks that have been dyed less, like some of the pinks and purples and oddball Southwest style stuff that people make. It's so for some people it's amazing. For me, I care for that less. You know, it looks cool, but you know, I'm not really interested in it. But like some of the block that I have has howlite in it that is undyed, and it has real natural turquoise in it. And so, you know, when the combination like that is together, it actually looks really cool. So
Yeah, yeah. So try to have an open mind if you are looking at that stuff. And this might be something where we're whetting your appetite. You're gonna go to a gem show this season. You know, like don't fight it. Find the one that's local and go. What's appealing to your eyes is that you can actually identify rocks even better if you see them in person and you have somebody standing there going like, here's what this is. And so it's a good tutorial if you're in love with rocks anyway, but specifically for this stuff, as far as the turquoise, the chrysocolla, the Shatticites, all of these things, lay your eyes on them. The more
yeah,
you see them, the more you're going to recognize. And then try not to have too much of a preconceived notion that, you know, it has to be a certain thing. Um, you know, when you are seeing some of the synthetics, because they're amazing. There's some really cool artwork out there that people are crafting. I want to say really quick thank you so much again to Tomcat Josh for inviting 5 more people into the Ozone membership. Cheers to all of you, and thank you again, Tomcat. All right. And so again, thanks again for that. So let us proceed on this. Here is what looks like some kind of sick pizza, but it's not. What are we looking at here?
you talking about just the stones, the same picture?
Yeah, doesn't it look like you know, pepperoni pizza, but it's like just totally wrong.
Okay. I guess.
You're like, wow, I'm having what she's having next.
Right.
Okay. And wait, before you describe what this not pepperoni pizza is, let me also thank very much Rick Smith for the very kind donation of 5 more Ozone memberships. Wow, I'm gonna have a bunch of emojis to make, so you guys make sure to let me know what you want to see, because we're gonna get a bunch more for all these people. Cheers. And thank you, Ma, for seeing the pizza. I appreciate your support there. But
Actually, I think I know what photo you're referring to. It's just not on screen.
oh, it's not? What are we looking
No,
at? What are you seeing?
the previous picture, just all the stones.
Okay. Let me make sure that this is progressed
Actually, it's just
enough.
the background, I think. It might just be the background photo I'm seeing.
Oh, yeah, maybe you are. What I am endeavoring, you guys in the chat, you need to double down for me. What are we looking at? Because what I'm hoping we're looking at is the circular piece of paper with that looks like almost the backing for a saw blade or something. And then we have a bunch of lumps of turquoise pressed into a dark matter. Is that what we're looking at? You are showing the backed stones. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Wow.
Because
I guess it's just on my end.
okay, so Caleb, remember when we were doing the live stream of the workers, you know, the makers bunch, and you
Yeah.
couldn't see what was really going on? I think we're
Uh-huh.
having that
Okay.
dimension. And so what I'm showing right now, I will verbalize what
Well, I
you're
know the
seeing.
photo, so
Yeah. So why don't you let us know what we're looking at as far as this is concerned?
okay, so what I did was I took all the Hachita that you see here and I took it all to my flat lap and started prepping it. One was to get in on the edges because, like I said, some of these are seams or they're thin, and some of them already had backing on them from someone else working on them. And so I just wanted to get to know what I was working with a little bit better. So I take all this stuff, I take it to the flat lap, and I start working in on the edges, kind of rough shaping a little bit just to see where the turquoise seams start and end and how much more I need to go in to change the shape, as well as flattening out the back in preparation for the backing material that you see in that photo. And so that's actually represents quite a bit of time to get kind of right, because I'm going slow, and I'm pressing down, trying to get just kind of it doesn't have to be perfectly flat. Like a lot of these, they're going to be a little uneven and whatever. It's just to kind of get close enough to where I can back it and and get it to a place where it's workable. And so in that photo there, you're seeing the backing I used. For this, I used JB Weld steel stick. Definitely not the most cost-effective way to back stones. There are much cheaper ways and a lot of secret ways that people don't like to talk about, but it is a accessible method that works really well. And so I forget what the little tubes cost, maybe like $7 or something like that.
Ooh,
And
that's cheap in comparison to my neck of the woods,
oh,
actually.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget. I don't know. I don't really look at it when I buy it too much. I try not to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't think about it.
I just go in and I buy like 5 packs and then I come home.
It's worth it. It's worth
And
it 100%.
right. So with that, actually, did I bring it with me? Oh, I did.
Well, while you're looking, let me ring the bell for Julie. Thank you so much for the 5 more Ozone memberships. I appreciate you so much, Julie. You rock, and welcome in all y'all that are new. You all get pizza. Okay.
All right. So this is what I used.
Let me get you in here. Let me see if I can. There we go.
Okay. Comes in a little tube. It's kind of like a clay almost. It's a 2-part epoxy. It's got an inner core and an outer core. So you just cut off a piece of it, however much you think you might need. And that takes a little bit of learning, because this stuff does set within like 5 minutes or something like that, where it becomes
Scary
unusable.
fast. Yeah.
And so I'm usually cutting off little pieces, working it. You mash it up in your fingers with gloves until it's a solid consistency, and then you press it in. And so what I was doing with those pieces, it's important to me at this point, because with the steel stick, to not or to get my shaping close and to get as much excess gone, because obviously I don't want to waste the stuff. And there is a little bit of waste. You can see some of it's like pushing out and everything like that. And that pushing out is depending on how much backing I'm trying to do. And so just to give you an example of some pieces here, what that might entail is like, I don't know if you guys can see that. That has a
hold on. There we go. Okay.
You can see there's a very thin layer of backing there, like 1/16 of an inch. And then, so that one didn't require, because the stone was thick enough that it didn't require much. And I could see after doing some edge work and things that like, okay, I don't need that much there. Whereas like a piece like this is like a majority backing. There's like a little over, maybe a little over 1/16 of actual turquoise on top, and the rest of it is backing. And so,
oh, holy cow. Yeah, that's like the two polarities of backing, isn't it?
yeah. And so I don't like to waste material, especially if it's really good. And so, like you can maybe see with the color in this stone, it is a really nice turquoise. The color is great. And so it was a tiny little seam, like a vein of it. And so I wanted to use it still. And so I still made a nice little ring stone or small pendant stone out of this piece just by adding more backing. And so, if I were to sell this, I would probably make an adjustment, because it's not all turquoise, right? Like a lot of turquoise is sold by carat weight or by gram. And so there's not a lot of turquoise here, but maybe to a silversmith, they might not care as much, because when it's set, that's all you're going to see.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, I see some people, they adjust for backing, or they adjust for stabilizing, because you're technically paying for resin as well as the turquoise. And I see some people say, I don't care if it's a freaking millimeter thick piece of turquoise on top, I'm still going to charge by carat weight. I don't know. You just do the best with, whatever you think you can do. Um, there's probably people that'll die on either one of those hills. So,
Absolutely. Although I did notice that when I created the pieces that they did have a lot more heft. They were bottom heavy from that backing, and it actually makes it so much easier to work with. Like when you go on as the silversmith, it actually makes
okay.
them a pleasure to work with. I
Oh,
have
nice.
to admit. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so yeah, there's some upsides and downsides, but there's an upside for all y'all that are just going to be setting these stones. Do not be afraid of them. That's for sure. Like don't put your nose up, because this can actually be kinder to set than 100% just natural, especially if it's
Right.
a thin natural.
You know, uh, One thing I was worried about, I made my first turquoise and silver ring recently, and one thing it's a completely natural stone, so there's no backing or any, and it's not stabilized. And one thing I was worried about, when I did my bezel, I made it just a little tight, and so once it was going in, and it wasn't coming back out.
Oh yeah.
And I was worried when I started trying to push it in because it started going in a little bit off. And I was like, oh no, no, I know, and it just took
Oh
a little bit
yeah.
of. But what I was worried about with that was because it was so tight that if I popped it in there, that it might shear off, brick, crumble a portion of it and ruin the stone and ruin all the work I did, for
Yeah.
2 hours while I was learning how to do that. And
Wow.
so, that was a bit nerve wracking. But with the back, my point was with the backing, you're going to worry a little bit less about that, especially this hard of a backing, because this is a steel based epoxy, so that's what's creating the heft to it. Some people don't like that. Obviously, like charging weight with that's not really fair because it is much heavier than some other alternative methods that use a much lighter by weight backing. So, I make little adjustments. I feel like I'm usually very fair with people and people are super happy. So I feel like I'm somewhere where I need to be. And then just real quick on the backing stuff, there is another alternative that you can use. I don't like this method as much, but it can be a little more easier to work with. And that's quick weld. It's also JB Weld quick weld. It's a steel based epoxy. It's 2-part, but this is liquid, unlike the clay textured type stuff. And so what you can do with that is you can mix and glob out a big old piece, and then you can just drop stones onto it. Yeah, I like this method less. I don't like the epoxy at this version of it as much, but it is a bit easier to work with. And it's also kind of harder to, like, I have a really thin piece right here. It kind of sinks in because it's allowing it to sink in. And so it's still kind of thin for what I wanted. So I might actually end up grinding that piece off and doing it the other way if I want to use it. Thicker pieces, I would say this is probably better for pieces that don't require much backing, but it is another option you can do. This is like what you would use some of the other stabilizing methods with. You mix up a bunch of stuff, like DevCon's a really popular one. Mix up a whole bunch of DevCon, smear it out, and then start placing, or make little globs and start placing stones on it.
Awesome. Yeah, because I did see Julie was mentioning that earlier about, actually rotating from, resin to, the different like JB welds and that sort of thing. And so they are going to have different properties and serve you in
Right.
different ways. So you might want to do some experimenting. But 2 points on what you were just talking about. The first point, dental floss, put the dental floss underneath your stone. When you put it in, then you can always pop it out as you're figuring out the fit of your bezel. And the second one is that a lot of times underneath the girdle of the bezel, people will grind a transition down, so that it'll come in and out easier. And then actually, if you need to make an amendment, especially as like the lapidary and the jeweler in my case, I typically have a diamond cutoff wheel on my rotary tool, and I'll just go ahead and trim like the littlest amounts off of that, like the bottom edge, like where your buildup is, if it's been backed, if it has been backed. Or, even in the case if you've got a really super tight bezel and it's a natural stone, you can still like just
Yep.
zhuzh that bottom seat so that you don't crack a stone when you're trying to put it into the bezel. And then also, because silver is flexible, you can also push the bezel a little too.
Right.
And so, you can flay it out just a little bit so that it'll accept that stone. And that's a lot better than breaking your stone after doing all the work. Because like
Right.
that's the pay dirt, is like setting that stone, and then you're like, you're on the final stretch. You're just like,
Right.
woo, now all I gotta do is polish, and
Yep.
so anyways, Tangentville, let's go back to the pizza, and we can kind of continue on as far as we've discussed backing. Have you got anything more for them as far as the backing goes, or shall we go on to the doppins?
You can use other things. I've seen people even use stones to back them, or a really old school way that I've seen is people used to use records, and then just epoxy or glue the stone down to the piece of record, and it's kind of whatever you want to do. I kind of like this method because it fills voids. And so what a benefit to that is you can kind of use this one as an example here, this little stone. And so this one has enough body to it where it only needed like a little thin layer of backing. But I didn't back this one. Somebody else did. Looks like a steel-based epoxy too. But to my point, this edge right here, you can see has like a taper to it. Just maybe if I can get it right.
Oh
And
yeah.
so what that might be able to do is there's turquoise right there on the bottom side of that, and the top is just like matrix. And so if I wanted to flip this over to get a bigger surface area of turquoise, I can take the epoxy and stuff it, make sure it's stuffed underneath that ledge. And so I can cut it the other way and get a bigger face of turquoise that's supported by all that epoxy. So
Oh
it can
wow. Yeah.
enable you to cut a bigger stone. And so that's why it's really useful to do things like this, aside from just making it more stable. So you can actually utilize more of your stone. And then, like, I've got seam pieces that are kind of like cones almost, they got a big ripple in them. And so there's just empty space. You need to fill that, so that way if it gets knocked or something, it doesn't crush.
Wow, that is an amazingly cool tip right there. Yeah, that is super
Pro tips.
cool. Pro tip right there. That was worth the price of admission big time. And bye Romania, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and hopefully you found this of value. We'll move on to this next clip here. Look at that. Man, is that just a sight for sore eyes. I love seeing this so much. What are we looking at?
I'm not sure. I'm still on the last frame. What is it?
Oh, it's the dopped stones. It's your sterilite lid
Oh,
with,
okay.
a gazillion dopped stones on it.
Gotcha. And so, yeah, that was all the stones after I usually let them, it cures fast. That the steel stick cures pretty fast and sets, but it's not like fully hardened for a little while. And I usually do this like at night or something and being quiet, prep a bunch of stuff and let them sit overnight, and then the next day I'll work with them. And so with the DOP, since they're DOPed there, that means I think I had already taken them to my saw and trimmed off all of the excess backing, and then got them all dopped up and ready to cab.
Yeah, they're the trimmed up ones for sure. There's no what are those? There's like the fingerprint cookies. Like they don't look like fingerprint cookies anymore. Um Julie is asking, are the lighter ones Variscite or turquoise?
That's a great question. This lot was sold under just one name, being Hachita, and that's not from a specific mine, it's from an area. And so the different mines can do produce different varieties of turquoise. And so that's not to say that there aren't some oddballs in here. I can't say that for sure, because there are a few stones that'll come up in another photo that just kind of stand out, and they could be from something else. But you know, I do believe, based on what I've seen after cabbing this stuff, that I believe they're all from the same area, or mostly from the same area. So there.
Wow.
I believe it's all turquoise. That was the question. I believe it's all turquoise of varying degrees. Now, there are some that are kind of Variscite looking. So I can't say for sure there, but just kind of doing the best estimating I can.
Yeah, I think that we're about to see some of the ones that actually might provide some question. But first, uh, Bob, sorry that your air conditioner is broken, man. Like 100% or 100 plus temperatures with a broken AC is not okay.
No.
So hang in there, buddy. And oh my gosh, I love this, Betty. Dapapalooza. And everybody's talking about what a gorgeous bouquet this is. And so, quickly, I would love for you to tell everyone, like, just a very, very brief overview of dopping with the JB Weld. Oh, please.
Oh, okay. Okay, so one note that I should say is I kind of skipped over. Before I dop the stones, once the backing material has been set and I'm ready to trim off everything, I actually do take them back to the flat lap and flatten it out, because even though I had them on that sheet, you know, they're on a desk or you're using the lid of something, whatever, they're not going to be perfectly flat, even on a really flat surface. And so I take them and I adjust. And so actually, here's a good tip. At this stage, once you've pressed them into the epoxy, it can be kind of difficult to see if you have them orientated level, you know, like square with whatever the bottom is going to be. And so this step where I take them and flatten out the back before I dop them, I'm also adjusting the backing to make whatever the plane of the turquoise is back to being like square with my dop stick. Um,
Oh man, is that ever necessary?
yeah, and then as well as adjusting the height that I'm going for. So in some of these stones, I don't know if you'll really see it in the pictures or not, but yeah, I just have to adjust. Like, some of them might have a little bit too much backing behind them, like I didn't push it in far enough and it was a thin piece or something, or one I might have overdone it, or I don't know. So I just have to adjust everything. That's when I do that right there. That way, when I go to dop, it's ready to go. I don't have to mess with it after the fact, because there's one thing I hate is having to adjust the height of a stone after the fact on the flat lap, because it can be kind of easy to take a stone that was sitting nice and it's all orientated, finished cut one way, and then you go to straighten up the back of it and you make it like crooked. And then, you know, then
Yeah.
you're stuck trying to re-level it and you're just losing height as you're doing that. And
Oh
so
my gosh, that is ridiculous. I did experience that a few times. Mr. Turtle Montana, I think, was asking about any glue-free options, and I'm wondering, you might want to expound upon that, Mr. Turtle. Of course, there's going all natural. Sometimes you don't have to do anything to the stone. No back,
right.
no stabilizer, no nothing, which we'll get to here in a bit. And so please, like, if you had more to that question, because first it came out as gluten free, so I'm wondering. Yeah. And oh, you also probably need to refresh, because it's a lot of dops and you might be a little behind. And so going on with the process, we've got all of the dops, we've got them. I love that you went back and you leveled the stones. Leveling the stones is imperative. Do yourself a favor. You don't want to have to deal with it once it's on the dop. And then when you're seeding the dop, there might be a tip here to help
Yeah.
them when they're done.
So this type of epoxy, being the steel epoxy, you can sit on your DOP station for a while. I have had zero issues with it delaminating so far. I definitely put in the effort to make sure the backs of my stones are clean before I apply that stuff.
Yeah.
That's important, but also just from the heat alone, I've never had one fail yet. That's not, I don't, maybe it's possible. I don't know, but it seems to take it fairly well. And at the speed of which, because I usually throw like 5 or 6, 7 stones on the station while I'm dopping, and by the time I get to the last one, it's fine. So, but one thing I will go ahead.
The JB metal was okay to 350 degrees.
Oh, okay,
Like
yeah,
that's what it says on the package, and so I was like, unless the actual turquoise doesn't want that, like if it's been wet recently or something like that,
right.
you're probably okay for at least the DOP station, because I'm paranoid and I was like, I'm checking on this, and it was like, oh, no problem, at least with the backing.
Right.
Carry on.
A tip if you're going to use the steel type epoxies like this, with dopping, especially if you're using good dop wax like I have, and there is some nuance to that. I don't know if like a lot of people have struggled with dop wax. There are better ones.
Yeah.
Just with like the grit that I use from my flat lap, on the back of it, it creates a pretty smooth finish. But even with that, the freezer method to pop them off does not always work.
No.
Some stones just pop right off on their own in the freezer, and that's ideal. And other ones, you will wrestle them to get them off. It is what it is. It's a very strong bond that they create together versus like the back of a natural stone. And so, yeah, sometimes it requires using a knife blade to try to pop them off, or cutting them off and grinding away some of that wax. It is a very strong bond. So one thing I've learned about that is less is more with the wax that I use. So I do not, some of the stones I even went a little heavy with, but some of them I really tried not to. I tried not to do very much. So
Yeah, I because this was my first batch with the JB Weld, the steel stick. I went really heavy on the wax. I like pulled it like for a full footprint on the stone and everything, because I just didn't want it to let go, and I just wanted to be super solid, and those would not come off. They would
yeah,
not come off. They sat in my game freezer like for a day and a half, and they would not come off, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so I actually, so those of you who love a good bond, there is a really good bond there, and
yeah,
enjoy that while you're not going to have a stone fall off while you're doing your lapidary, which is wonderful. And so afterwards, what I ended up doing was I took a cutoff wheel, a diamond cutoff wheel on my rotary tool. And what was really interesting about the speed of the diamond wheel was that it melted the uh, wax just enough that as like I actually just like cut next to the stone close enough to melt the wax around the dop. And so I didn't have to cut anything. I really was just warming it up with the diamond wheel, and it would just plink off.
right.
And then I would just clean it off with the diamond wheel. And that it was a little messy. I did it outside, but it was like, I don't know. It took about 2 minutes per stone, if not less. And
Right.
so, yeah, just if you run into this problem, you can go ahead and come back to this video and take that advice, because it wasn't hard. And like I was trying everything. I was like afraid I was going to break this stone, like
Been
trying
there.
to pry it off. I was like, okay, that's not going to happen. It is a good, good, good bond. And so at
Yeah.
any rate, I just thought I would like hit that before anybody else made that happen
Yeah.
in their studio. Less
Good
is
call.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so going on with these beautiful doped stones, you have a future with these guys. They ended up with the next slide that I'm showing is the one where they're all laid out and they're done.
Okay.
And so there's the variety. Now we're all seeing that, remember back to that big box of rough, and then the pizza with all of our backed stones, and then here now we see ones that are robin's egg blue, they're sky blue, they're yellow, they're green, they're mottled, they've got matrix. Like can you tell us a little bit about the variety and what you think about some of the origin here?
Um, yeah, so well, obviously I love the variety of it. It is nice to have, to have some consistency when you're working with stuff if you want to do maybe pairs or just like a little set of things. But for me, I absolutely loved the different colors and the different matrices. And what was what's fun for me is because since I enjoy cabbing, uh, everyone was kind of a little bit of a challenge. Um, some of them were softer than others. Some of them were super hard, and that could be speaking to like they could have come from different mines there, different areas. And so, I don't know. It, I'm not familiar enough with the area or the locations to know if they all came out of the same area for sure. I'm going on that the seller was giving me accurate information, so it's just some good faith there. Um, and if I were, when I go to sell these, I'm going to say basically what I just said. As I always do, I say, I bought a lot. It was labeled as Hachita. Take it for what it is. This is all, as much information as I can provide you with that. And so, and some, it is what it is. I can't prove any of it, even though some of the ones do look like they are for sure from their area. But I've seen there, like I said, there's many different mines and different varieties, so they all kind of look right to me.
Yeah, awesome culmination of what I think you touched upon earlier with the how to kind of treat each one as a different individual, where even though they could have been all origin similar, every single one had to be dealt with differently.
Right.
So what would you say was the most complex feature that the most troublemaker that one was, and how did you deal with it?
So well, some of the real troublemakers are actually still sitting behind me.
They're in a timeout corner right now.
Yeah, they might require either abandonment or I don't really want to glue them or anything, so they might just, end up in a little container forever. But yeah, some of these had a bit of matrix, as you can see, like the very top right one, how it's like all orangish brown, and then there's like a little sliver of green blue on top.
I
Well,
love
that
that.
little sliver of green blue is actually the only turquoise in that piece. I wasn't really gonna finish it, and then I was just sitting here kind of wrapping up. I was like, yeah, just see what it does. And so it's still kind of an interesting stone, but definitely that is all matrix and it's soft and kind of pitty, just textured, not like it took a polish somewhat, but not like the turquoise in it did. Yeah, it's just kind of the ones like that. Some of the ones, I think the one on the to the left of it also, it's the green turquoise was really nice, but the matrix was being kind of a bugger, so it took more shaping um as I went through it. So yeah, it's just kind
So
of that kind of stuff.
Right, right. Julie is asking, where were some of them harder to take a polish? And so this was, the answer kind of to that question. Can you, like, through the variety that we're looking at, was there like some that took the better polish? And by eye, would you be able to select ones that would be easier to polish than harder?
Oh yeah, for sure. The more saturated color ones, like the sky blues you kind of see there, the dark blues, and then some of the really solid green ones, and the pale ones. I don't, the ones without matrix just solidly took a great polish, I guess. Overall, they are all of the same finish when it comes to the turquoise. So what I mean by that is just like the actual finish, polish, and shine that the turquoise has, they're all pretty much the same. There might be a couple, maybe if I remember right, that have just a little bit less, but that's probably because of the matrix that was associated, or it was just maybe a little less, or more crummy of a piece. But I don't know. They all pretty much came out very nice. They are to a high polish.
Yeah, they're all such different characters. They every single one of them have different characteristics. I just love the fact that they do that. Jennifer Ship is asking, are they all the same to work with hardness, etc.?
No, no, there's a bit of variety here. None of them, I would say. Well, yeah, this is gonna be a little weird. None of them were really hard turquoise. Some of them a little bit harder, but that it's very marginal between what was just tearing away on the wheels and being kind of junky to something that just polished up really nicely. With these, most of the work is done on like my last two wheels of the machine, just inching out those last little bits. But like this piece here that isn't pictured because I just cut it today also came out of that lot. Um, this little guy here uh, was harder than the others. And the reason why this one wasn't part of that original lot, there were like 5 or 6 nodules in there. And this is one of them that were different than the rest. They were visually different than the rest of the stuff that was in there. So I separated them. I could tell by the color um, and the matrix that they were going to be naturally harder stones. And so this is what I would say was probably the hardest thing out of all of them, but still, not hard.
So when you hit a hard one like that, and this is a personal question, do you wonder if it's the mineral content, or do you wonder if it's the stabilization? Were those ones that you bought in that lot supposed to have been stabilized at all?
Nothing in that lot showed any signs of stabilization. And
Nice.
by signs of stabilization, you typically see it. And I know this isn't going to come up very well on camera, but when you're looking in here, that can sometimes be hard to tell visually. When you cut it, you can smell it usually if it's got the epoxy in there, whatever stabilizing stuff they use. But visually, when I'm looking for something that's been stabilized, I know this isn't going to come in very well, but right here at the tip of my finger is kind of like a little void, and there's clear, like hard gel in there. And
Yeah.
so that's some of the glue. And you can usually see on the texture of the stone just this kind of gluey film. But if you're working with a piece that's just that, it can be kind of hard sometimes until you cut it. And so I'm looking for those kind of cues. The stabilizing, even if done really well, will you'll see it in the voids, you'll see it in the cracks, you'll see remnants of it usually, at least in my
So
experience.
yeah, and it looks like there's a majority that is ruling that you can smell it in the chat, and then
Yeah.
also I recall uh, the scream on the wheels is different too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like it'll scream on the wheels, which is really kind of weird.
a little bit.
Yeah. And so, yep, everybody's talking about smells. And then Soul wanted to know what was your drop count.
On all of the DOP stones, it was 0
Yeah.
because that's much more difficult to do. On some of the ones that I cut by hand, there were some drops. You're working it because it was probably I wasn't using enough water, and because some of the bigger stones I cut were a little bit soft, you get kind of a little film, rocky, chalky buildup, and sometimes it'll just grab it and flip it out. Oh, and I'm
Yeah.
notorious for losing control of my stones when I'm hand polishing them on my buffing wheel. That's why I have little safety mats and things as a precaution to not have the
Oh,
impact break something.
yeah, yeah. If I could only if I was super fast on the draw, I would bring up that awesome config of your buffing wheel that you sent me that has like the uh there's that stuff that like non or kind of sticky what am I looking for? Drawer lining stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pads the way if you're gonna have a ricocheting rock so that it doesn't break. I'm taking that to heart, man.
Yeah.
I'm putting that everywhere, like
Yeah, do it because
soundproofing.
before I did that, I had stones end up like 10 feet away sometimes just because it
Oh,
would bing, bing, and then just gone.
right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and that's like the last thing if you're on that stage and you've got this beautiful stone that you're just eking out this last little polish on, you don't want to send it ricocheting away that, ultimately ends up with like a big fracture in it or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, we're gonna whoops. Oh, look at that. That's a new little way to put it. You're probably not seeing it. Can you see what I'm doing here?
Yeah, you've got the background photo sideways and then a micro version of all the finished tabs.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, we're just trying all the flavors tonight, guys. And so on with the next. That was a beautiful bouquet of stones. So here's one of the ones that I think that I would have been scratching my head about as far as is this a uh, piece of Variscite? And it's the one that has the clouds of the celadon green and the yellow matrix in between.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I could see somebody making that argument, and that argument may be correct. Like I said, I'm just working on the best information that I have. And so if I take it on good faith, then I would answer that question as no, it's not. But it does have some of the bloomy features of Variscite as well as the color. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, no, yeah. In no way is it meant to be like a contradiction. In all ways, it's supposed to be like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Because kind of Variscite's my favorite, and I,
Right.
I I was drawn to this piece probably the hardest because oh my gosh, I love the way that you have the lighter celadon green in the center, and then it's ridged at those pools by a darker green.
Right.
I mean, that's and it's
Yeah.
really gemmy. Like,
Yes.
yeah, that you can tell how gemmy that is, especially with the lighting that you took this photo with. You can see how shiny that took the polish.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. That was a surprise when I actually started grinding into it because that piece didn't really show that from the back side. And
No
then
way.
when I was prepping, I could see just kind of some blotching, but like it wasn't as good as that section. And so the top of it was just kind of like almost like a botroidally messy mess of stuff. And so it didn't really look like that on top. So it was like the natural outside of the nodule or whatever in that when it was rough. And so yeah, when I got into it, I went like that. I was like, oh shit. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. we're
But
we're into the after hours crowd, I think here.
And so it was like take it slow, try to get the best, the biggest, best cut you can out of it, and just inch my way through it. And that's what I tried to do. I, it looks fairly oval. There's almost a hint of a flat spot in part of it. It once it's set, you won't notice it, but I just tried to do the best I could with it.
Oh, no, that's a field of green that I would love to go play in. I mean, that's an abundantly settable stone in my book.
Yeah.
I love it. And so we'll continue on to another one in the showcase. Um, we've got this, it's the blue one that is like almost Sleeping Beauty blue, but it's got that little lightning strike of
Yeah.
the matrix through the top of it.
Yep.
And then we also have on this same slide this ridiculous piece that has grass green floating through some of the turquoise robin's egg blue color, but then it's like ochre yellow in like the spot in the center,
Oh, yes.
which, oh my gosh, both of these pieces, like, again, abundantly me want set now. Like,
Right.
really conjuring a lot of fun setting ideas. So what would you say about both of these stones, like pros and cons to either?
Um, well, the pro for the blue one is just that quality of blue is so freaking nice. And then it just has that kind of lightning strike. Or I think at one point when I was showing my wife it, I was like, there's like a little chain of islands in it or something because it, reminded me of the
Yeah.
ocean a bit. And then, so it's just a really nice little ring stone. And then the other one with like that green, you'll see, I had to I had to make some decisions in it. And so I have it here. It's not going to come through super well on this camera, but you have the photo of it for everybody to see. But one thing you'll notice, if you look at it closely, is that the whole kind of center to left side, that where all that yellow and stuff is, that's all a void. I had
Yeah.
to leave. I had to leave that there in order to keep the green that was left. And so this is something that I don't often do because you want for it to be nice in a piece of jewelry, you do want it to be fairly uniform and even all the way around, which as I strive for. But if I were to try to match what would be your left side with the right side, I would have lost all the most of the green that was present there. And so I just worked. I had to reshape it a bit too, and make it a little kind of like a oblong or yeah, a little oblong teardrop here. But what I tried to do was get it to a point where I could get the actual edges of the stone on the same level for a bezel to go over, and then so the right hand so with all the green is actually sitting just a little bit higher than that. Well, compared to the void, it's actually quite a big difference, but so it is a little bit funky in that regard, but it will still set nicely into a piece.
I absolutely love the fact that it's got topography. Honestly, this is the kind of stone that lights up my creative excitement for setting a stone more than the typical stone anyhow. Plus,
Right.
I don't know if y'all saw the thumbnail, but this was the one that I had in my hand. Like, this is one of my favorite out of this batch for that reason. And so I'm glad that you saved the watercolor, like, just grass green that's been painted around that ochre and then into the robin's egg blue. Plus, again, when you're setting your own jewelry as a craftsperson, if you've got some different height bezel to work with, that's part of custom jewelry. That's part of how you create the setting for the stone so that it shows off the stone like a pimp, you know? And so it's that ain't nothing if you like the stone. than, having these little things to play with. And if anything, when I have a low bezel on one side and a high bezel on the other, I typically add another feature to the low bezel side, so it conjures more ideas, like, ooh, what do I put over here to kind of like bring out the fact that I've got some interesting different levels of the silver or gold or whatever you're setting it in. So, man, I just could chew on both of these stones for hours. And Jeanette is also talking about loving pieces with voids. They speak to me. I think that sometimes when you make something too perfect, like a piece of turquoise, like from Sleeping Beauty, that's just blue, and you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's that's cool. But like I like to see a little matrix or the void or the pock or whatever, just because that imperfection goes like, yeah, this is real.
Yes.
And and I like that I can see the mother of what's real here.
Yeah,
And
and so,
go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
Uh,
you.
well, that's like some of the pieces in there do actually have some things to them. Like this piece is probably not going to come in very well, but it's got little voids you can see in the shadowing there. And that was just part of the creative, license as I went through it, trying to find a happy medium because this stone kept getting smaller and smaller because the turquoise is thin through those areas, and so it was.
Oh man, I hate it when they get smaller and smaller. You're like, I'm fixing it. I'm fixing it.
All right.
Yeah, so embracing the things that might be liabilities in a stone and making it its quality is part of the lapidary's job,
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
sure.
One of my
Um
favorite things to do if I can, which I was trying to do with some of these, it just as things went on, it kind of morphed, was if I have like a botroidally nodulary piece of turquoise and I can cut a cab or I can just knock off the tips so that it leaves all that texture and highlights the because you'll have a color change a little bit there and stuff where you polished it away. Yeah, if I can do that, I will definitely do that because it just looks so cool.
Right? Yeah. And that's what I mean by like sometimes the pieces that are less likely to be superstars become the superstars because they conjure your good ideas. And you're like, "You know what? Out of this whole display of 36 stones that I have sitting here in front of me, I want you. And I'm bezeling you up now. You're the superstar because you have conjured this idea. And so I don't know, sometimes the ones that you think are like fighting you a little, like being a little naughty, end up being the most fun.
Yeah.
They're like the best one. Um and Amber is saying rocks are like people, the flaws show what we've been through. Give us our character and personality. The unique ones are the prettiest. I agree. That's super cool. Thank you
Very
for
good.
sharing that. And so we've got, going back to the slides. But wait, there's more. We've got these guys over here, which actually, to me, kind of, I think a lot of people, they think that that one turquoise blue one to the left of the slide that we showed before, and these two are probably what people think of when they think of turquoise.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, the average person going like, "What's turquoise?" This is what you kind of have pop up in your mind. What do you think of these guys here?
Which ones are you showing?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the kind of almost a powder blue and turquoise with like very light matrixing through the center, kind of rust colored out of the the batch that you showed me. These are similar colored. The one is also, the next one is sort of a half round on one side and a little bit straighter on the other, with a lot of gold matrix on the inside, and definitely a light turquoise blue on the outside. Does that,
Okay.
you
Sort of.
remember those ones?
Yeah, I think one of them is kind of a bigger stone, right?
They're both bigger. Yeah, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, I paired them
Okay,
because they look so darn good together,
right.
actually.
And this is kind of like that really kind of lighter blue color with these. Both of them, the turquoise is a bit softer, and the one that has a lot
Yes.
of the, I guess it would be the smaller of the two. You can see some texture to it, and that's because the matrix was wanting to get real funky, and the turquoise was, kind of coming out in some spots, and so that one I'm not like super happy with, but it's a stone, it is what it is. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
the kind of larger one that has that little streak of green in the matrix in the center there, yeah, that was softer. I had to do more work on like I was still kind of fixing facets on the 3000 wheel with that one.
Right? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like, fixing facets on the 3000 was a new experience for me with turquoise this time around.
Yeah, just it didn't matter how light I tried to do pressure and stuff. It was just I could see a line, and if I can see the line, I'm really gonna try to fix it,
Oh, yeah.
because I don't like seeing it. And so, yeah, it's just got a little bit of texture to it. It did not take as high a polish as the other stones. So I guess that goes back to one of the questions you asked earlier. And then also like the finish on it, when you take the light across it, it's ripply, and that's just because of the softness of it. I mean, you can't. There's not much you can do to fix that without stabilizing it. And so, but I didn't want to, I just wanted to go with it. It's still a very pretty stone. So if it was set into, I don't know, anything, it would still look really nice.
Oh,
But,
for sure. Yeah. No, I love this, like, almost a light mint green, and it looks awesome with, like, a light tourmaline or a light ultramarine marine, some of the light topaz, all of that kind of hue. It's delicate, it's beautiful, you kind of run with those colors. It looks great, in gold or in silver or in white gold, so there's a variety of different ways that you could set these. So, actually, they're very versatile as far as that goes, the
right.
hues that you would choose to set them in from the designer's point of view.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just gorgeous, gorgeous work. And so, the the pursuit of turquoise, w we were talking about at the very top of the discussion. This is like kind of where you leaned into. This was, one of your, favorite stones to get into. So I would say, like, what would be your best experience ever with the turquoise? And I would also like to hear your most, like, terrifying experience with the turquoise.
Some of the best is cutting into nodules and getting to see the pattern for the first time. If you get some kind of white watery or spider webby type of stuff, it just shoots your dopamine through the roof because sometimes you can see on the outside and sometimes you can't really tell what it's really going to look like on the inside. And
Oh, yeah.
so, those are kind of some high moments. Just the feeling when a really, really nice quality stone works out and just comes out beautiful on the back end. It's an amazing feeling. Uh, and then what was yeah, that's kind of the good stuff. What was the other one?
The most terrifying.
Oh,
I know you have some.
yeah. So, uh, terrifying is like, you know, working a piece of like Royston or something that just has like that polychrome coloring on the outside in the seam, and then you go into it and it like you're worried about it splitting on you or breaking and just, that kind of stuff, or just any kind of expensive turquoise, just having it come apart on you. Like I've had, and the same goes for Varisites. Like some Varisites
Mm,
are just
yeah.
notoriously brittle. They just come out of the ground hard as shit, and they crumble on you, you
Right.
know, and you just can't get through it. There are tips and tricks for that, but yeah, that kind of stuff is just watching good material fall apart on you is just devastating.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. So, actually, let me bring this up. Oh, hi. It's not, we want to do it. Oh, I guess it's going to be a person. So I wonder how we do. Hi, there's that one. I think that we can get this so that, nope, that's going to be that. Let's take that down. There's, so that's going to treat it as a person. Let's try, nope, there's that. Okay, we're going to have to do it this way. So, don't you love it?
You did
So
it.
I did. I figured out something. We'll figure out something. So you were asking me some questions earlier today, and I was going to show you some of the like the rough Variscite that I had. That was the gamble.
Okay.
So here's some of this. And those of you who are watching, Caleb was just talking about how crumbly it can be and, kind of scary to work. I've been chasing some color through these guys. You can see some of it right there. And it's been a trip. So a few of the slices that haven't been backed are these guys, and so you can see the Variscite in there. I actually like the one that's to the left. You can see some of the blooms,
Yeah.
and then there's the micro blooms as well. Like these are two slices. I know that it almost looked like one, but that's like the fact that this actually stayed even in those slices was pretty impressive because some of this stuff was extremely shattery, like what
Yeah.
you were just talking about. And so in this case, they want backing, but don't necessarily need to be stabilized because
Right.
they survived the cut. And so these boards are kind of more about solidifying the things that you just said. We've got some more Variscite here. There's a similar to that one nodule that I was really digging on from your group. Um, but you can see that the matrix is very different here, but it's got like those different colored clouds. I don't know how pixelated this is for y'all. Hopefully it's not too bad.
Looks
But
good to me.
yeah, this is actually from the one of the claims that Chris Rose has, and I'll be processing this. Um, they call them clams,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and so this is actually a half of one of the clams that I got, and it was just like I can't wait to deal with that. Now, Caleb, if
Hmm.
you were holding this guy, what would you do with it?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, Say I didn't have any references, so no information to go off of. My first thought would be is like, well, how far does the blooms and the Variscite go into the rest of the nodule from the cut side?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it makes me wonder, like, am I going to cut the outside? Because those blooms could be, just all the way out there as well. I'd probably just start in on the edges, just straight, like straight grinding on the edges and seeing, and going in until I reach the Variscite, and then seeing how thick it is, and just kind of testing my way through. And that'd be my first direction, and then deciding like, okay, well, am I just gonna flatten out that other side, the rounded side, and call it good, or what? I'd be
Yeah.
curious to see. Part of me would wonder if I could. So that's there. That's probably the white. That's the whitest bit you have. So
Right.
it'd be curious. You could back that, and then oh, now that's thinner than it looks.
Yes.
Yeah, so I probably wouldn't take another slice, but I'd be
I
curious.
know you'd be tempted to slice something off of the back here and just
Yeah,
see if there was like two stones there, right?
yeah, but that's pretty thin. And Oh, a good tip for some of the brittle material that I learned was getting the like the super thin blades.
Yes.
And also having a machine that is not rattly, like a blade that is still true and round, not like oblong and all that kind of
Chattery.
stuff.
Yeah.
All that stuff's gonna cause issues. So yeah,
Right. Right. Cause yeah, my first temptation was to try to cut the back off of this because it has to go anyway,
right.
one way or the other. And so see if there was more, like if there was a smaller stone in there. And then we also have from the same, and I'm trying to remember if this is one. It's not the Candelaria because I actually think that the other turquoise that I got from them was from there. But oh, turtleback, I think is what they called this. And so here's the nodules.
Yeah, I'd be splitting those things.
Yeah.
Yep.
So one cut a piece. Look at that.
And then you'll have to make a decision, do some facing on the outside and see if it's worth cabbing the outside or worth flattening and backing cabbing the inside. So you'll see what patterns you get because so a lot of the color saturation can sometimes be on the outside of a stone more than the inside, and depends on what. But those patterns, it's got some cool little spider webby type things going on there. So
Oh yeah.
that's going
Yeah.
to be some neat stuff.
So exciting. And so that's the Variscite. And if I'm being honest, the Variscite floats my boat pretty much the most. Not
Yeah,
that I'm like, yeah, gonna call anybody my favorite kid or anything. But there's something about the Variscite and also how it typically doesn't need any help. It usually doesn't need stabilization or backing if you get some
right.
decent Variscite. And so I really, really like that stuff. But to overview some of the other stuff that we're looking at here, I wanted to provide both some cabs and some rough. Just to for giggles and whatnot, and so Caleb and I were talking about recently. This is some hummingbird, and it's some Shattikite. He actually helped me to find the information about the mine itself, and this is what it looks like polished. And so there's your before and after shot, and these different like the Shattikite or your Chrysocolla malachite blends can be pretty interesting because not only do they provide some interesting challenges to polish, but also visually you've got a lot going on. This is some azurite Chrysocolla blend with quartz that is more of a mystery item. I got this from um Brian the 775 and that's what it looks like polished. So some really really beautiful, very very stable material there. And you got to love it when you get it from folks that they're like, well, I can't really get that anymore.
Right.
So you're like, well, the fun was real. These pieces, like I showed you this. This is the Variscite over here that I cut, and then there's the pieces of this Chrysocolla over here. They're on. This is actually wax paper right here that they will be getting their backs probably tonight. And I'll proceed. That Chrysocolla that we were just looking at there in the rough, that's what it looks like polished. And it takes a great polish. That is some of the struggle was real with the wax. And so I'll finish that, but there's your backing. And it turns out that these were kind of thin pieces, but they maybe didn't even need so much of a backing if they were thick enough. But you can even see there's some really nice blue right there. and then it goes through some brown and some nice green. And so what I've got, that's kind of like an overview of actually what Caleb helped me with. I actually have a couple of pieces of turquoise too, and I was working my way towards the turquoise because that's the more expensive stuff in my collection, and I wanted to get all the problems taken care of with, say, backing and that sort of thing before I moved on to that. And so for that, Caleb, I thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, we've got these pieces that are to come, and what we have as far as this concert of things is we have a clutch of light blue material over here. This is heirloom from my grandfather. I'm not entirely sure where he got it, but it looks a heck of a lot like, kind of that Sleeping Beauty blue and whatnot over there. We've got some Hubai. One of them just decided to go onto the floor. Those are those big lumps there. Plenty to work on. You can see, like, that's my finger. That's like a few stones, wouldn't you say, Caleb?
Oh, for sure.
And some nice blues in there. There's our Varisites. In the center, we have some Royston that comes from Chris Rose mines. That will be like, it's super solid. And so I just have to figure out, Caleb, if you were cutting this stuff, what would you do? We've got some weird shapes, but some pretty solid material. What would you do with that?
Well, like for that piece, that little fold right there by the tip of your finger make me wondering if that's kind of like if there's a fracture going through there. So sometimes what I do with this stuff when I see stuff, I'll start like just using thumb pressure and just kind of
Uh-huh.
seeing where some issues might be,
Oh,
or
yeah.
just really inspecting it. But I guess like a part of the goal that I try to do is I try to get the biggest. It depends. I sometimes might try to go for the biggest stone first, but depending if you have like a blocky piece that's kind of square, you can maybe chop it up and get similar sized stones. But I
Uh-huh.
definitely try to shoot for a big stone. It's like my first thoughts, like how big a cab can I get out of this? And I shoot for that first and see where it goes from there. But yeah, like that piece probably, if you had a super thin blade, you might be able to slice it in, and if it holds up, but it's like at some point you're kind of wondering if it's worth it or not. But yeah, it's just a constant assessment because like it looks like there's a muddy little pocket in the middle of that piece, and so that
That
could
might be
create
two
some problem.
pieces, right?
Right.
Yeah, like
So
if you've got a thin enough blade, you could go ahead and splice those and have that side and that side
hmm they
be two different stones
hmm
type thing. And then something that you were talking about earlier, you were talking about breaking into nodules, and I was telling you I have some popcorn. I also got this from 775. And I love these little guys, these little popcorn turquoises.
hmm
Um, what do you typically like? Would you like throw a blade right in between, like cut it in half and throw some back on it and polish up, or how do you usually tackle stuff like that?
Well, like I said, the stuff that has like the botulinous or popcorn, like you're kind of saying here, sometimes it's worth cutting off a face that you can polish the tops off of. And so sometimes I tackle these kind of things in that way. Or if it's just kind of like, maybe that's not worth it, and I can get two decent stones, I'll just split it in half or into however many pieces I think I can get. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of tumbled stones that tumbled turquoises I've been sitting on for ages, and yeah, I just took and split the majority of them in half, and so you can, depending on how they are, you can get pairs out of them that way if they're very similar on the inside or outside. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of depends. I would definitely with those try to get a face where you could touch the tops off and see if that makes a cool design cab.
I love the idea that you just came up with as far as like getting some pairs going. Yeah, that is a great idea on account that, so much of the jewelry design is of course, you always like making beautiful necklaces. Folks are talking about bolo ties in the chat. Ring stones. I remember Wisconsin and you were talking a little bit about some of the smaller format stones and how, it's not a liability with turquoise because so many people like the smaller stones for the rings and that sort of thing. It works.
Yep.
Um, and then as a jewelry designer, we are always scrambling for earring pairs.
Yeah.
They always go. So
Yeah.
I like
If you can
that.
pull pairs, do it. Because
Yeah.
you can, say you had cut the same material that was consistent. It could be any kind of material, but sometimes you can get more for you can get more for a good pair than you could if you had made a bigger stone that was the same amount of material.
Right, right. Um, so that all being said, oh, we can get that guest down. Uh the the value of turquoise in the market that you are experiencing right now, where would you say as far as desirability is it?
Desirability, I guess it's probably a little bit harder where I'm at here because this isn't. Well, I'm in well, it kind of helps that I'm in like a country area, you know, where I live. And so that helps because a lot of jewelers that do Western style jewelry, obviously turquoise falls right into there really, really well. It might be the most used stone in that sense, um, and the whole Southwest style. But I have jewelers right now that are hitting me up for turquoise, and so it's very much in demand more than it has been previously. But that's also probably because I've been exposing myself more either through online outlets and in person for shows and things like that. And so, but for me, it's always in demand at this point.
So what, like, if you think back to your very very best piece of turquoise, I mean you've set one now into a ring, would that be your very best piece, or was there just like the most stellar piece of turquoise before? What were the qualities of it that made it like the best for you?
I have some. Oof, I bet you I could put my hands on it if you gave me a minute. But there was a piece of turquoise. I had it was like a thick seam. Maybe it wasn't a very big triangular stone, maybe about this big, but it was a thick seam. And at the time, I didn't know what I had. This was when I was first playing with the turquoise that I got, but I was like, oh, this has good color. And in hindsight, I learned, like, I cut a few cabs out of that chunk and sold them all.
Of
Um,
course.
and in hindsight, I realized, like, oh, it was like some of the best turquoise I've ever cut. It was naturally as hard as the quartz that was also included in the stone. So the polish
Wow.
was even across the two. Because sometimes you'll polish some, the quartz won't take a good polish off the zam. You can do like a two-part polish and get the quartz shined up too. But it was as hard as the quartz that was associated with it. And what was neat about it, it had this beautiful like robin's egg blue, and then it had the quartz inclusions, but it also had kind of like a brown quartzy matrix inclusion with it. And where those little bits were that were in it, the blue went dark saturated around those little islands. And so it
Ooh.
was just like super super cool material. And like, I don't know, I was like, I sold it all and I was kind of regretting it. And so I ended up buying one of the pieces back. Someone had hit me up. I forgot that I sold them the piece, and they hit me up asking me questions about it. I was like, "Oh, actually, can I buy that?" So it's in a finished pendant now, which is cool, But so I got that back. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like that. That kind of stuff's great.
Yeah, yeah. That brings up an interesting point about uh, the struggle is real when you have some really nice stuff and you want to share it out, and it is in some cases our job to dispense it out. But then you're like, I do I do I hold on to a few pieces? Do I hoard just a tiny bit? What's your answer there?
I'm definitely there was a time when like all the cabs that I have cut that I still had, they all pretty much went out with me to a sale or whatever. And it's like, and then usually what would happen was I'd be sitting there waiting for people to come over and I'd start picking things out, putting them aside, like, because I didn't really want to get rid of it. And then now I'm to the point where it's like some things just go in a different case. I'm
Yeah.
not going to get rid of it, and I think that's important because, like, but also I'm not so attached to things that I'm not, like I said, I've changed a little bit now where I am saving some stuff, but I'm not so attached to things. Like I've sold lots of stuff that I wish in hindsight that I hadn't, but I'm okay with it also. It's like now someone else has this really cool piece. Like the other two stones I cut out of that same stone, I know where one of the other ones went. But that's okay, because he had planned on getting it smithed into a piece for his wife and all that. And so, that's awesome. That's really cool. And then one of my favorite pieces of turquoises that I cut, I sold at the first show that I did this year, and within a couple weeks, the silversmith, the gal who bought it from me, she had smithed it and wore it at her wedding.
Oh,
It,
wow.
yeah,
Oh, how
yeah,
cool.
and so that was, and she showed me the picture. I was like, "What? That's crazy." So that's just like super cool, you know.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff makes it worth it.
Yeah, we gotta hold on loosely, right?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, you can always cut more stones.
Right. Like knowing that there are more on the horizon is a very, very good place to be. And if you're worried that there aren't, maybe just keeping a kernel here and there, like
Yeah,
a little bit of the rough that you cut the rest of, just putting that one piece aside out of however many slices. It can be hard. That struggle is definitely real when you're like, wow, I really liked that.
there's a good chance two of the showcase stones that I showed you, which being the one with the green and then the Variscite looking spiderweb one. There's a good chance that those go into the keep collection, and
Yeah.
then the rest of them go out. What's kind of
Yes.
funny about that? At random, like I had done all those stones, and you could see when you showed them all on the dops before they, like, I didn't do any test polishes to see if I was even going the right direction with them. I just went for it and just said that we'll see what happens. Those two stones were of the first like five that I cut out of the 50 something stones. Those two were just naturally in the first few. Just which
Wow.
so I was it created a thing where I was like, this one kind of looked like that one? Is it going to do the
Yeah.
thing? And none of them did the thing really. But I
Yeah,
still
you
have
were
a
off
lot
to
more.
too good of a start.
Yeah. So of the batch that you saw, there was like 50, I don't know, 50 something stones, I think. Or I don't even remember now. Maybe that's off. I don't remember how many it was. But there's a whole tray over here behind me with that was probably like a quarter to a third of that box, just the stones that were finished on the cab machine.
Wow.
And so I still have a whole bunch more to do that need prepped and backed and all that stuff. So lots more fun to have.
Yay. Where do we get to see the more fun that you're going to have with these stones?
Be on the Discord probably as I process them, but we'll see when I get to the rest of those because recently I came into a whole bunch of turquoise, and so I'm going to be jumping around quite a bit. I think I don't really want to be like I don't really see myself as just a turquoise cutter. As a lot of you guys have seen my different stuff, I work all kinds of different material, and I don't really want to focus on. I don't want to be just a turquoise cutter. Like I know you can make good money doing it if you're good at it and stuff, but I kind of view it as like I do enjoy doing it, which is really great. So I don't get burned out on it. So I can do large batches of turquoise and I'm not upset about it because it's not like doing a large batch of agates, for example, which would take a lot longer. And so, it's kind of a bread and butter item for me for some of my clients that I have. So it's good to have them in stock. And so I'm replenishing the stock and then I get to go back to having fun with all the other material I have.
Yeah. Oh, that's the spice of life. I mean, we can't feel sorry for ourselves because there's so many things to love.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much rough to discover. And I know that somebody in the chat had said earlier that, cutting it open and being the first person to see what the insides look like, that's a very special feeling for
Oh yeah.
sure. With all of this stuff, the nodules of
Mm-hmm.
turquoise, chasing a vein, like
Oh yeah.
the Variscite little slablets that I just showed, that was like I had to figure out where in a big piece of rough they were. It was like a hard rock mined, chunk that had come off that showed a seam. And did it have anything really, or was it just, just a tiny little speck? And so they were like, yeah, that's just gamble. It's
Mm.
not showing, so we don't want to have to mess with it. I'll do it.
Yep.
And so
That's
so
me
it's
too.
oh my gosh, I love doing that. Like that's like
Mm-hmm.
the rock hounding inside the rock.
Mm-hmm.
That you can do in your studio when it's raining outside. Okay. Or actually that was outdoor work because it was pretty messy. But Ma, thank you so much for sharing the Discord link. You can see more of Caleb's stuff over there on the Discord. Where else can we find you?
I'm on Instagram and YouTube.
So following Freeform Lapidary on the Instagram and also on YouTube. Same.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, I thank you so much for hanging out and having this conversation. Is there anything that you feel like we left dangling on the case of the Variscite, the turquoise, the Chrysocolla, all of those fun things?
No, not really. I would just say, like I think I said earlier, just touch on it again, that if you're new to working this stuff, just do test stuff, do the lesser pieces, learn what the material is acting like, especially if it's consistent across the lot you have, and just learn the little quirks because it can just be a pressure thing. It could be how you're sawing it up and crumbling it. It could be a lot of little things like that. And there's sometimes ways to adjust to have a better outcome. So, and reach out to people, ask people who know, ask me. I'm not going to say I have all the answers. Definitely not a turquoise expert, but I can produce a decent stone on occasion.
Absolutely, I would definitely endorse that. And another place that you can have access to this information is on the Discord, where you can have in-time discourse with somebody who knows this stuff, like Caleb here. Thank you so much again for sharing your wisdom. We only scratched the surface. There is like a whole bunch more there. If you'd like to hear more about it, let us know in the comments or on the chat, and we'll follow up with all the deets if you want it. But thank
Yep.
you, Caleb, for all of your time. You're very generous.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. And we'll
Cheers.
we'll see you over on the Discord.
All right.
All right, bye for now.
See.
All right. So that was amazing. It's always a pleasure for Caleb to come on to the show, for us to have his presence and knowledge and all of the eye candy that portends. One of the things that I did also want to show, I asked him about his favorite pieces of turquoise. So far, my favorite pieces of turquoise, if we were to turn the tables on me and ask, I did uh two pendants last year, I believe it was. And what I had done is taken some Hubai turquoise and done some carving, and it was in an ammonite. This one has a sunstone, and this second one was actually ordered from having seen the first one. And the person that wanted the second one wanted just the turquoise itself without the sunstone. And the owner of this particular pendant is somebody who's very valued in the faceting community. And so it was exciting to do these pieces of turquoise, and actually these were some of the first endeavors to doing the lapidary with the turquoise for me. I had always bought stones that were already when I was a younger silversmith back when I lived in Tucson. And I, to be honest, stayed away from the turquoise and the phosphates unless I was getting special orders and that sort of thing, just because there was so much of it being used in the Southwest. And it came with the expectation of kind of having the flavor of the Southwest in the style of the setting. And since that wasn't exactly what I was doing, I kind of stayed away from it. And I feel bad. I feel bad at this point for having neglected the phosphates. And so I'm getting a rebate on that. I hope that you guys also feel like maybe a tinge of that you want to work with the Chrysocolla or the turquoise or the malacolla or the Shattikite. There's so much more to say about these beautiful stones, and we can do a part two if you'd like to know some of the more, like minutia deets about it. And thank you for the feedback. Thank you, Caleb. Those are like cascading down the comments there. And thank you so much, Amber, for that about the pendants. I appreciate that. Kid Curry is saying such informational and transformational Fridays. Well, we appreciate that. That's what we're going for, so that we value the time with you, and we're going to make the time that you spend with us over here on the live streams valuable. And so hopefully great guests and lots of information for you to take part in. And the fact that you guys share in the comments, we had a great commentary about some of the stabilization and different ways to work with the phosphates. I really appreciate everybody who's in the chat, and also just fleshing it out and making the conversational way more. Ma, we're already the same person. We share brains. It's all good. But thank you. You're wonderful. I want to be you when I grow up too. So it's definitely mutual, you guys. I really appreciate all of your feedback. Yes, bring the minutia. I love that. It's the devils are in the details, and it's so much fun. Oh my gosh, a snail would be good too. We love our mollusks. Maybe we need a sea snail. That would be good. All right. And so all of you, thank you so much for coming. You know that we've got a great weekend on deck for all of us that want to watch. We've got all sorts of live streams and videos coming up. And so if you've got one that you're going to be doing, go ahead and put it in the chat or down in the comments so that we can follow that. Over on the Discord, you are invited. So if you're not part of our Discord and you're watching, it's a closed Discord, but if you're watching, you are invited. And we have a TV guide over there. So upcoming videos always get a link over in that channel on our Discord, so you can just go up and down that upcoming videos. And even if they've already gone by and you've missed out, you can go on up the line and catch up on all of the good viewing and listening if you're working. I am sorry that we didn't get to a maker's bunch this week. This week absolutely burned by and left like singes on my shoes. I couldn't believe how quickly it went by. Had so much to do, missed a bunch of stuff that y'all were up to, and so I'll be playing catch up, but hopefully we'll be able to get together this weekend and do some of that working and all that. I have been cranking on cuffs. You can see I'm wearing one here. I've got a bunch of these cuffs that I have been working on. Some of them, this one I absolutely love. It's got pine, so like pine needles in the embossing. So I'm going to be adding a bunch of stuff to the website for sale. And so you can go ahead and check that out. It'll be for sale actually over the weekend. There's the ongoing let's get mining sale that I've been having going on. And so these cuffs without the stones will be going up, and hopefully some other stuff that I've been working on. And that'll be part of kind of like the end of the sale. It'll be kind of like the solstice sale, I can say it. And the sale prices are already on there. Use the promo code FREE free for free shipping in addition to the sale price. So it's even better. And pow, I think that's it. So let's all have a wonderful weekend working with our rocks, hunting for the rocks, and getting together and watching all of the fabulous rock videos that are going on. We need a turquoise steinkern. That's a great idea. Let's do it. All right. This is carving season. I love to carve outside with the outdoor studio, and so maybe a little of that will go on as soon as it stops raining. It's weird first day of summer, but again, happy summer to you guys. Thank you so much for joining over here for this live stream. I cheers you for hanging out and being a valuable member of this rock community. Have a great weekend. Blessings to you. And I hope that Julie does some quick healing over there at AZ Rock Hounding Expeditions. We love you guys. I love all y'all. We'll be looking for you at all of the live streams and premiere videos over the weekend. And otherwise, let's get together over on the Discord and look over all of each other's wonderful shows and tells and what you're doing. I want to see your turquoise and the Shattikites and Chrysocollas and things that you're doing over there on the Discord too. Thank you, Resort Dog and Amber and Betty and Ma doing an awesome job wrenching. Thank you so much again for that. Did I say Kid Curry? He wants a turquoise skateboard. Scott Argyle, thank you so much. Some great minus tides going on this week. Great days at the beach. Absolutely, that opal guy. Good night, Eric the cat. Thank you so much. All y'all. Another great thanks to Caleb of Freeform Lapidary for coming on. I'm going to leave you with the credits from Cape Blanco. Cheers to you, and I'll see you around the way. Be alive, everybody. Are you here? Am I here? And we can't hear me. Let's start over again. Are you here? Am I here? And we can't hear me. Let's start over again.